first session of Flutter. My name is Daniel. So I'm actually in charge of the skill development team from DSC MMU. Right. So we'll just today we'll be having our first session on this Flutter. It's actually a three-series. It's actually a three-session workshop. The first session will be given by us, actually me, Tan Chun Kiat, and Lim Yijie. And for today, we'll be talking about introduction to Flutter, what Flutter can do, it will be normally used in, and also we have the second part of today's event is introduction to Dart, and also the last part, our final part of this event is we'll be showing how to install the Android software developer kit, Android SDK, and also the Android Studio. So we'll give some time for like 5 minutes for just to wait for people to come in. Yeah, for those who are asking where's the Google Developer Expert, so today's session will be given by us, and the second and third session will be given by them. Actually, there's two Google Developer Expert, so be sure to not miss the second and third session. Yeah. Other than the instruction of Dart and Flutter, will be covering what is Flutter used for, and also the basic of Dart programming language. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Daniel. So since it's 8:07 right now, so I think let's go ahead and start with the session. So for those who haven't, for those who just came in, so I'll just introduce myself again. Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm the head of skill development team from DSC MMU. So today we'll be giving for the first hour, we'll be giving a talk on the introduction of Flutter and what is Flutter and what it's used for, etc. So for the first part, I would like to invite the first speaker for today is Lim Yijie and Tan Chun Kiat to talk about the slides.
Hello, I'm Lim Yijie from DSC. Can you guys hear me? Good evening, everyone. We are very welcome to have you to come to our Flutter series workshop today. We will help you to start with Flutter today. And before I start, I just want to ask, is there anyone here heard about Flutter before this? If you do not heard about Flutter, just type 1 in the chat box. We would like to see like how many of you like just new to Flutter. Okay, 0. Okay, quite a lot of us do not know about Flutter. Okay, so for those who do not know about Flutter, no worries. We are going to introduce Flutter to you tonight. Okay, before I start, I would like to show you a short video. Yeah, so basically that is a very short video, like 1 minute video that I want to show to you all. So actually in the video, right, what you can really see is actually all about application, right? You see so many interface of the application shown in the video. Okay, so actually what is Flutter? So Flutter is a Google UI toolkit for building beautiful natively compiled application for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. So actually we use Flutter to develop an application. Flutter applications are written in the Dart language, and Flutter makes use of many other language for more advanced features also. And you may not familiar with Dart language, but no worries, we will teach you some basic syntax of the Dart language later on. Google added support for integrating Flutter into existing Android or iOS application. So if for those who have working on an application and you want to try using Flutter, there's no much hard work to do this. And also Google have put a lot of investment into their ads in for Visual Studio and Android Studio. For your information, right, Visual Studio and Android Studio are the two software that we commonly use as an IDE for the Flutter. Google created a new suite of web-based tooling for debugging and inspecting Flutter application. Flutter actually was met with 4 things in mind. First, building beautiful applications. Second, app speed and responsiveness. Third, developer productivity, and lastly is building an open developer community. These are the 4 characteristics that Google aims to provide to all the developers. Firstly, Flutter enables you to build beautiful applications. Flutter provides a rich palette of tools that give you control over every pixel on the screen. Designers never again have to compromise on their vision. Flutter includes a full set of widgets that deliver pixel perfect experience across any device, and it enables the ultimate realization of material design. And whether you are building a highly tailored or branded experience or a native iPhone application, you will find Flutter provides everything you need to build a beautiful and awards-winning interface, just like the example shows in the slide. Secondly, Flutter is fast. It's powered by the blazing speed scale 2D graphic engine, which enables the hardware accelerated graphic from the start. We architecture Flutter to be able to support glitch-free, junk-free graphic at the native speed of your display. Flutter code is compiled to native machine code, and your finished application code doesn't go through a virtual machine or a JavaScript interpreter. So next, I will pass to Tan Chun Kiat to talk more about the characteristic of the Flutter.
Okay, so hi, I'm Chunket. You can just call me CK. And now let's just continue on. So next, Flutter is also productive, where developers can develop their apps while it's running. So as you can see in the example below, when you change the text from the button clicked, as you can see here, you change to push, then it clicks this button, which is a feature on Flutter, which is called stateful hot reload. It will instantly refresh the page with the changes that you have made, and this makes developers develop much more effectively, as they do not have to restart the whole app just to see what the changes they have made. They just click on the stateful hot reload, and then the changes will instantly appear. And lastly, there's the open part, where everything is free and open source. You can get Flutter on GitHub. So next, I'm going to talk about the tech stack of Flutter. And on the very top is your code, which is written in Dart. And then there's the Flutter framework in Dart, which has the widgets, gestures, and so on. And these widgets and gestures will show it more on the second and third session. And then next is the C++ Flutter engine, which comprises of the Skya graphic engine, as mentioned by UJ previously, Lex.runtime.ui, which is like a package that you can import. And then there's the iOS or Android runner. So something interesting about Flutter is that traditionally, when you're building applications, you need to have 2 teams to develop, one team for iOS and one team for Android. But then using Flutter, you only have to maintain one code base, and your code base can be run on both Android and iOS, which saves a lot of time. And lastly, there's the hardware, which is the GPU, ARM, and x86 chips. So now I'm going to talk about 3 things that makes Dart special. So first of it is optimized for UI. So the Dart team and the Flutter team has worked together for many years so that the Dart is optimized for app development. So when you guys use applications, right, one of the most important thing is the UI. If some of the applications have like trashy UI, then you won't use it, right? So by using Dart, it's optimized for UI, so you can create nice UI for the application. Next, there's the productive development, which is, say previously, the stateful hot reload feature, where the changes can be made instantly, and developers who use this feature is said to be 3 times much more effective. And lastly, it's fast on all platforms, no matter your web, your applications, or even servers. So now I'm going to end the slides with 3 facts about Flutter. So the first one is that LinkedIn data says that Flutter is one of the fastest growing skills among software engineers. Flutter is one of the top 20 GitHub repos. It's actually the number 16 spot. And it's also used by brands around the world for apps with hundreds of millions of users, which I bet some of the applications you might even used it before, and some of the companies will probably heard it before. So now I'm going to show you some of the examples. Some of the examples of the applications built using Flutter and the companies that use them. So you can see, right, the apps that's made using Flutter, like companies like Tencent use them, like Google of course uses them, New York Times and so on. As you can see, the list of organizations, there's BMW, Alibaba, Google, Tencent, and so on. And there are some of the apps like the Google Stadia and like even Grab, one of the most popular app for like cars transportation booking in Malaysia. Yeah, Grab, Baidu, Alibaba, yeah, and even ByteDance, which is the company for TikTok. Yeah. So now I'm going to show you some of the developer stories of the companies that uses Flutter to develop app. So this one is Alibaba.
阿里巴巴集团的使命是让天下没有难做的生意。目前，闲鱼超2亿用户中，已有5000万用户使用 Flutter。闲鱼致力于打造无闲置社会，把全新的生活方式和理念带给年轻人。比如说，有一位铲屎官想出售宠物用品，希望能够快速发布抓人眼球的商品信息。当有用户有购买需求时，只需清除屏幕即可。我们常在思考，如何构建易于操作的应用，如何确保应用画面精美、加载迅速，如何让更多用户使用我们的应用。更重要的是，如何早日实现以上目标。
因此，我们开始寻找解决方案，并了解到 Google 的 Flutter 高帧率流畅的 UI， 让我们马上对 Flutter 所创造的用户体验产生了浓厚的兴趣。但更重要的是，其带来的开发效率提升效果非常惊人。每一位开发人员都知道，为了覆盖最大量的用户，需要同时为 iOS 和安卓开发应用，这意味着必须同时维护2个不同的代码库，这不可避免地拖慢了研发进度。然而 Flutter 让我们只需要使用单个代码库，这使得应用维护更加简单高效。如此说来， Flutter 似乎是一个很好的选择，所以我们决定试一试。我们选择增量的开发 Flutter 功能，并将其集成到已经存在的应用中。目前，商品详情页作为闲鱼最复杂、最重要、用户访问最为频繁的部分，已经通过 Flutter 单个代码库同时运行在安卓和 iOS 平台上。
在过去的几个月里， Flutter 已经为我们提供了很多助力，它速度极快，因为它是一个纯原生应用程序，它丰富而富有表现力的 UI 组件，使得我们可以轻松创建优美的 UI， 而且它显著降低了我们实现新功能所需的工作量。现在我们能够高效地为多平台创建应用程序。商品发布页作为闲鱼 App 的一个重要部分，刚在本月完成了基于 Flutter 的发布，我们也非常期待接下来在阿里巴巴的闲鱼使用 Flutter 构建越来越多的功能。
腾讯旗下的产品团队为数众多，但都有一个共同的目标，为每一位用户打造美丽的、流畅的、与他人相连的体验。无论用户是在使用什么设备，也无论用户是在学习、旅行，还是在分享精彩、享受生活，亦或是在事业上全身心投入。
做英语君完全是从零开始，教育的产品功能复杂，但是我们只有3个月的开发时间，5位开发者。其实想要完成 iOS、安卓2个端上，从 Phone 到 Pad 各种尺寸上的适配，真的是非常困难。
闹直播的安卓和 iOS 实现差异比较大，我们迫切需要一个能覆盖移动端、外部以及更多场景的大前端方案。
企业辅导之前使用的跨平台框架运行起来效率不太理想，占用的内存也很多。
翻译君有自己的迭代速度，我们需要有新的开发框架，但节奏最好能自己把握。
起点的既有产品服务于商业用户，我们想引入更好的框架，但它不能太影响已有的应用。
应当的设计迭代很多，但以前就需要我们的开发实现2次。
好在 Flutter 的学习曲线并不陡峭，上手还是挺容易的。我们现在觉得让产品转而使用 Flutter 加 Dart 完全可行。
在使用 Flutter 之后，我们有90%以上的代码是跨平台的。在需求和设计变化之后，跨平台的代码只需要修改一次，两个平台都可以使用。
我们100%使用 Flutter 开发的英语君，就因为精良的用户体验和视觉效果，获得 App Store 编辑的连续推荐。
屏幕识别能力真的很强，从 iPhone SE 到 iPad， 还有各种尺寸的 Android 的平板，这些都没有问题。而且我们还用了不少矢量和动画资源，包括 SVG、图标字体和 Flare， 这些在 Flutter 上都运行得很流畅，轻松上到每秒60帧。
调试效率提高80%，人力节省1/3，而且大态语法相对比较简单，一般1到2周便可以上手开发。团队内部推广 Flutter 阻力非常小。
现在我们已经在一些2级页面使用了 Flutter， 能让我们按照自己的节奏进行迭代，也保证了应用品质。
应用里用 Flutter 做的页面非常稳定，基本消除了崩溃现象。
我们很看好 Flutter， 而且在用了 Flutter for Web 之后，更是决定用 Flutter 来承担我们的大前端战略。
我们现在已经搭建了比较完整的原生加 Flutter 混合工程体系，未来会逐步在更多的独立页面上使用 Flutter， 这个灵活性对我们很重要。
希望能更融入 Flutter 社区吧。我们使用了很多别人写的开源组件，也希望将来能够贡献一些代码回去，让更多的开发者喜欢上 Flutter。
好的产品都是迭代出来的，更好的界面、更流畅的体验，甚至更多样化的使用场景，都离不开高效的迭代，而 Flutter 让这些成为可能。
At Nubank, our mission is to fight complexity and empower people. One of the things that makes us different is that focus on technology. We were cloud native, mobile first, and we gave people a bank in their hands that's safe and accessible 24/7.
We had a lot of mobile engineers which were specific to Android and iOS. We wanted to ship features to production consistently, but sometimes we had a feature that came for Android earlier than iOS, and it's not good for our customers.
So we found it was the time for us to look at this seriously. We thought that if we fight complexity, starting with our employees, and we give them the joy of designing simple systems that are well tested, we're actually enabling our customers to have a simpler experience and have better control of their financial lives. So we tasked a small task force with the mission of doing research and development on a few hybrid platforms for mobile.
So Flutter had everything we needed right out of the box, good documentation to how to integrate to our app and how to reload that really works. Support from the community, its tooling.
Here in Nubank, we have a culture that really nurtures testing. So having a test framework that built in, that just work, that we can do unit tests and integration tests without so much trouble is something that was really important to us.
We coordinate the work between designers, engineers, and the different teams across Nubank in an easier way, because everyone is talking about the same framework.
We used to have multiple and inconsistent component libraries throughout the app, and now we have one library. We can get more creative using Flutter.
The first features that we launched in Flutter, it was transfer points from our rewards program. These features, they were using Flutter in our new design system. And these launches were faster because we could deploy at the same time on Android and iOS.
Every new feature is going to start it in Flutter, and after that, we're going to migrate the old flows that we have in the app to use Flutter as well.
We're ready to take that step and help most of our engineers become full stack if they want. They can focus on just learning the hybrid platform and contribute to the mobile app. The product team is really excited about the next step. We can use the liberties of Flutter to make things a little bit more fun, even in a banking app.
Okay, so now I'll pass on to Daniel to give a demo about the app that he developed. So Daniel.
Okay, yeah. So thank you CK and UJ for that introduction speech. So I assume that every one of you, if not everyone, then some of you might have some interesting question about Flutter. So for the session for the explanation that we had just now, do you guys have anything to ask Any question for that, or is it for the explanation just now? Is it clear? Which language will you suggest to mobile dev beginner, Kotlin or Flutter? Okay, so for me personally, this is kind of biased, but then this is just my opinion. For me, Kotlin is a bit hard for a beginner to learn. So for me, I will suggest to start with Flutter and Dart first, and then move on to Kotlin for for your advancement. For your next level of application. For example, if you want to take it to the next level, then you can just go ahead and start to learn Kotlin. But if you are really beginner, starting from scratch, then I would really suggest you to go on study Flutter and Dart. Okay, nice. So after watching the 4 videos that we provided and also the slides, did any of you guys suddenly have interest in learning Flutter, or sudden interest in creating some application for your own purpose, or like to try out something new? I really hope you guys go ahead and learn Flutter and Dart, since the market for it is really big for now actually, since nowadays we are moving towards the mobile phone application, right? Since like, okay, to be honest, truthfully, no one really uses web application anymore, except for, again, no one really uses, but then there are some people, but most of us will be with our smartphone now, right? So I think it's a really good time to learn to develop a mobile application. So for that, I'll suggest to learn Flutter and Dart. So after this, I will just demo an application that I made during my sem break last time. So let me just share my screen for a while. Okay, so this application is actually created from scratch. Oh, so yeah, before that, is my screen visible to everyone? Yeah, can anyone see my screen? Yeah, all right, so nice. So just to confirm, on your left side or your right side, I'm not really sure, you should see my handphone, my smartphone. Yeah, on left side, right? Okay, nice. And then the right side, you should see this Google Meet, all right? Okay, so let me just transition to my VS Code. All right, so this application was created for me, one, with 2 purposes. The first purpose is for me to keep track of the COVID numbers, okay? For no reason. I know there's news that you can just browse on your website and all, but then one, I just really want to try my Flutter knowledge. I want to see what can Flutter do for my convenience. So now we can see that with this app, I think although this app is just really displaying, before carrying on, let me just show you the app. So this app just basically show the total case in Malaysia and the latest case today. Okay, so the cases, actually this application is really simple. It's just displaying the data that I fetch from the API and then just display it here. Okay, so how does this application work? So first we can just go to the main file. Okay, so the main file, as you can see, this is where the application will run first. So as you can see here, there's actually a syntax for page route. So for those of you guys have learned other programming language before, so this syntax should be familiar to you. For example, I think this syntax is the same with Laravel, same with React, I think. Yeah, so for those of you guys have experience in this, so this routing part should be no problem at all. So basically for those, just enlightening you guys what happened here. So the first the first page that will be displayed is the slash page, which is the loading page. If any of you guys notice, there's a loading screen actually. Okay, wait, let me just back and just reopen the application. Okay, no, I have to close it. Okay, so if I run the app again, you will see a loading screen. Yeah, you see this thing? So this loading screen will be ran first, will be executed first, because we need to actually fetch the data from the API. So during the loading screen, oh sorry, I opened the wrong page. Okay, this is the code for the loading page. So basically, I'll try to explain it in a layman term. So what happened is, the loading page actually create an instance of object and pass the location of Malaysia with the URL of Malaysia, and this flag is just the image of the Malaysia flag. Okay, so where does this information being passed? It is passed to the function that is called getTime. Okay, as you can see, the function getTime is in our COVID result.dart file. Okay, so this is the COVID result.dart file. Okay, so before I continue, everyone can see the code clearly, right? So the code is all clear. Yeah. All right. Nice. Cool. Right. Let's go. Let's continue. Oops, my Snapchat notification. Okay, just ignore that. Okay. Now, as you can see in the get time function, there's a function with a type of future and asynchronous. So these syntaxes in this Dart language might be overwhelming for you, but don't worry. Anything that you see as an alien language now, after this hour around 9 p.m., we'll have an intro to Dart, which we explain how to code in Dart. We teach the basic of it from the data type, the functions, the control structure, if else, decision making, loops, the OOP part of it, how to create classes, inheritance, and all. Okay, so just to explain to you guys how this application works is firstly we get a request from this URL here. So this is the API that I use to retrieve all the information about each country. So if I actually have this page open here, okay, yeah. So when you open this link, coronavirus-19.heroku, okay, I just copy this link to the chat so you guys can view it. All right. So this link is actually providing us with raw JSON data. So for those of you guys never heard of JSON before, JSON is actually a JavaScript object notation. So it's actually just a way of putting data into a format. So as you can see, now the raw data type is, the raw data being presented to us is really ugly. So let me just use the JSON parser over here to make it display more tidily. Okay, so first we can see there's a lot of country here. So there's USA, India, Brazil, Russia, France, etc. There's really a lot of country. I can just scroll. Yeah, there's like 230 countries. So what I did with the application was I just called the country based on the name here and send it to the URL. Okay, for example, let's say I want to see the result for Malaysia. Okay. So when I put Malaysia in the URL, so this is the data that will be displayed to me. So first we have the country, Malaysia, the cases, today new cases, the death, today deaths recovered, etc. There's a lot of information, and then the data from this API, I parse it and then I push the data to display on my application. Okay, as you can see here, the today we have 1.5K, which is the same thing over here. If you can see my left side and right side of the screen. Okay. Then let's say if I want to change location. Okay, let's say I'm boring, I don't want to see Malaysia already. Since I live in Malaysia, I should know what's the case for today. Okay, let's see. Let's choose a country. Okay, let's say Singapore. Okay, let's see our neighbor country. Okay, Singapore only have 5 cases. Wow, they're so good one. Okay, never mind lah. Never mind about the total case and never mind about the cases today. It's okay. The cases today is 5 and the total cases is like 58K. So I think not for me, this information might be useful for someone else who really want to keep track of this information. Okay, so let's see about how the change location button works. You see, when I press the change location button, it actually opens a page which is a list, consists of a lot of countries over here. Basically it's not a lot, but then yeah, it's still considerably a lot. Okay, let's see the choose location page. Okay, so the choose location page, this is one of the characteristics that I really like about Flutter is everything in Flutter is a widget. Okay, later on we'll explain more about this, but everything in Flutter is a widget. So as you can see here, I've used a widget called list view. Okay, so this basically just provide the everything that I put inside here as a list. So what did I want to put inside here is I want to put all of my location. Okay, so you might ask, what is this location? Where does this location come from? So let me just scroll up a bit to the top. As you can see, location here is a list with which holds the object of COVID result. Okay, so a list basically is just something like an array in other programming languages, but then in Dart it's called a list. So in the list, it holds some object of COVID result. So this COVID result, I named this COVID result is because for me to send it to this page over here, the page that I send to the API. Okay, so in this object, there's some parameters for it to identify each instance of the object. So for example, you can see the first instance of the object, we have Malaysia, the URL for it, the location, which is Malaysia. This is the plain text that is displayed over here, and then the flag, malaysia.png, which is also displayed over here, the circle flag icon. Same goes for every other country. This URL actually I also got from traversing through this API website. So yeah, if you go ahead and try one by one. For example, I want to print the country that's not inside of my application. For example, let's say Italy, right? I don't have Italy inside my application. right over here, Italy. So it will display all information regarding the country of Italy. So yeah, it will traverse through everything in my location array and then display it here. Okay, so let's say just now when I click to Singapore, right? Okay, how does the application know that I want to view the result of Singapore cases? So actually it's defined over here, the update time, the on-tap function. The on-tap function is actually a function that execute the body of it when we click on each of the tile. Okay, for example, when I click on Singapore just now, what happened is it will call the function of update time with the index as the parameter. What is the index? The index is actually the index of Singapore from this array, from this list. From this list, you get the array. You get the index of Singapore, and then pass it to a function called update time. Update time is a function here. Is an asynchronous function. Okay, so before I continue further on, do any of you guys heard about asynchronous? Oh yeah, sorry, you guys wrote something over here. All right, so cool. Yeah, Pritesh. Thank you for saying my app is cool. Although it's lame, it's just saying that my application have like few countries. But yeah, thank you for saying my app is cool. Should see USA. Okay. I can display USA, but then the result in USA shouldn't be displaying anything right now, since if the cases is 0, that means the country itself haven't updated it, and the API, or maybe the country has updated it, but then my API didn't have the value for it. So yeah, I just want to ask back the question that I was asking just now. Does any of you guys ever heard of asynchronous function? Yeah, a lot of you guys saying no. Okay, so yeah, let me just explain this as short as possible. Asynchronous function is a function that is a way for us to get, okay, for example, okay, let me just explain it in this way. When we create a function, right, for example, a void function, or any function, for example, function of summing two numbers together. So we will have like integer sum, and then we pass in two integers, and then we just return the integer 1 plus integer 2, right? So whenever we call the function, the result we get from it is instantaneous. So instantaneous means is whenever you call it, you get the result straight away. Okay, do you guys understand that? Yeah, all right. So asynchronous function is used for those of the function who the return is not instantaneous. We have to wait for a certain while for it to give us the result that we need. So in this case, you might wondering, let me just, oh yeah, okay, can. So you guys might wonder, why do we use asynchronous? Oh yeah, Bunhui, yeah, we normally use for API. Yeah, true. Why do we use asynchronous function in this case? You might ask, since there's no API over here, we don't need to wait for anything. Actually, if you can see, we need to wait for the function called getTime. Okay, this function is a future function. Okay, let me just open the file. Okay, yeah, this function is a future function. Okay, again, does any of you guys ever heard of future function? Future promises, maybe from other programming language. You guys should, if you guys have dealt with it. Yeah, from JS, yeah, true. Okay, Pritesh, what's future function? Future function is a function that return promises. Okay, so I think if I put it like this, then a lot of people will get confused. What is promise? Okay, for example, let's create a hypothetical situation. Let's say I promise Pritesh for something. Let's say I promise I want to give Pritesh some candy or some MACD because Pritesh like MACD, right? Okay, so let's say I promise Pritesh MACD. Okay, prosperity burger, let's say. Okay. The thing is, I promised him, but he don't know when he will get it. But the thing is, he know that he will get it sometime soon. So that's the concept of future and promise. When we create a future function, it returns us a promise, and that promise will be answered sometime soon. But then the thing is, the gist of it is, we need time. We need to give the function some time for it to complete the promises. So in this case, what's the promise here? The promise here is the get request for the URL. Okay, let me just enlarge my VS Code. Yeah, the promise here is this. Since every time when you load a web page, as Bunhui said, the internet determines the speed. Yeah, right. Although, okay, for those of you guys who have like really fast internet, you won't even notice the loading time that your browser took to open this page. Okay, for example, let me just try and open this page one more time in a new tab. Okay, as you can see, there's some loading time, right? Okay, this loading time does not only happen on browser. It also happens on every time we actually call the website. So that's why we need an async and await, and also we need a future function instead of a normal, let's say, void function or anything. Yeah. So that is future function. Yeah. So is it clear for anyone else for the future part and also the async and await? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. So for the next part, I think for the other part, okay, let's see the change location and the choose location, and also, oh yeah, let's talk about how this the data is, how the data is, sorry for that WhatsApp notification, how is this data, the today and today cases, is being displayed on this homepage, although as for now I haven't shown it. So yeah, let's go and see how the data is actually being displayed. So in the COVID result.dat file, actually, when I retrieve the data from the API, the desired location, mind you that the $sign URL is actually a placeholder for the URL that will be passed to this function whenever the application loads. For example, the first time it loads, it will pass in Malaysia over here, and every time we choose change location, so it will also pass the URL to here, the URL part of the country. For example, for United Kingdom, the URL part is UK. So what do I do with this information that I just got? So the information that I just received from this response over here is in the form of raw data. It's in this form. It's in this ugly form. Yeah, it's in this curly braces, country, semicolon, Italy, cases, blah blah blah, and all sorts of number. Is there any way for me to format it better for me to use it? Yeah, so we are lucky that in Dart we have the JSON decode function, which actually take the body of the response, which means the body of the website that we just got. So basically just give us the data that we actually want and put it into a map. Okay, sorry, put it into a map. So for those who learned programming before, so you guys should know what is a map. So a map is basically a data type that using a key and value to store data. Instead of calling it by index, I can just call it by the key of the object itself, key of the which corresponds to the value. So now, in this case, I'm interested in the cases, the new cases today and the total cases in that country. So what I did was I take the today cases and the cases. So mind you that these two variables came from this one. Yeah, as you can see, the cases is actually the total cases in that country, and also the today cases is the recent cases, the new cases. Yeah, let's see Malaysia, since Italy they haven't updated. Okay, yeah, as you can see here, the cases is the total cases. The today cases holds the value for the recent and new cases today. Okay, what I did was I call those variables, I call those values and store it into a string variable called cases now, and current case, actually this one current case is actually stands for current case, and then I stored it into today cases and total cases. These two are the variable inside the classes itself, the classes of COVID result object. All right, why do I have to do that? It's because in the home screen, in the home.dat file, I use this data again to display it. Let me just scroll here. All right, here. So as you can see, today, which is correspond to this today, and then data today cases dot toString. Okay, data today cases dot toString. I have to pass it to string since Flutter will give me an error if I just put it to display as an integer. Okay, since this is a text widget. Okay, and then the same thing goes for the total cases. And also, yeah, I have to pass it to string also, and therefore the data is displayed here. All right, so yeah, that's basically how this application works. So is anyone have any question for this application? It's basically just a simple application that I created just out of my curiosity. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Out of my curiosity, okay, just to test on my Flutter knowledge, and also, yeah, since COVID is the hot topic of nowadays. Is there a design view in Flutter like Swing or JavaFX? If I remember correctly, there's a display view on Android Studio, but then yeah, you can't really drag and drop. You have to manually code it. I don't know. I'm not really sure if there is really something like drag and drop for Flutter. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Omar. About the design view in Android Studio is just basically showing you the summary of all this. So basically, you see all this, there's a lot of brackets and commas and all. So basically, you will just format it in a neat way so that you can see, oh, so now I'm in which row. So for example, oh, I'm in this row. In this row, what do I have? I have tags of total cases and so on and so forth. It will just classify it properly and neatly for you to see. How many hours do you estimate you spend on developing the app? Actually, for this application, I don't really spend a lot of time. My hours of spending the application, my hours spent on creating the application is normally I spend a lot of time on reading other people's problem. Since, for example, my first problem is this one is the part where I say I have to pass it to string. Yeah, so I have to go on Stack Overflow just to read on people's problem. Like I just Google how do I display integer on text widgets, so on and so forth. Yeah, so a lot of time wasted on that. And also I watched some video just to refresh my knowledge on Flutter itself. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really know how much, but then if you ask me to estimate it, I guess around like if you put your hard work in it, I think a day you can get you can use your whole day to create this app. Can you share the app you use to mirror your phone screen? Oh, it's actually can Google SCRCPY. It's actually a open source software. You can install it. If you in Windows, I'm not sure how you install it, but then in you can just go to the GitHub. Oh, you use the same thing. Oh, I see. Oh, but then mine is okay. I don't know. I don't know what's the problem with that. Okay, so yeah, do you guys have any other problem? Any other question to ask? Or yeah, just out of curiosity, ask me anything. Are you using Linux? Yes, I am using Linux. Yeah, if you ask me why do I choose Linux over Windows, yeah, since my main reason of staying with Windows is just to play games, to be honest, and also some of the application that I use, for example, like Adobe Suite in general. Yeah, exe no power here. Yeah, and also Linux is really lightweight, and then also my laptop specs is really not that high to run, and nowadays as we all know, Windows is really getting high on resources. Oh no, this is not dual boot. Yeah, I just have single boot Ubuntu in here. I'm using Linux fully. Regarding this workshop, will we also be touching topics like Firebase? Oh, unfortunately no. We will be not touching about Firebase since we have a plan on actually creating event integrating Firebase into Flutter. So we would think the intro to Flutter and intro to Dart is really necessary before we move on to Firebase, since actually we can just take some sample application and then just learn the Firebase part, but then where's the fun in it? So our aim is to let the people who attend know how does Flutter work, what is Flutter, what is Dart, how to use any of the widgets and all. Yeah, be sure to look out for our future events, or maybe next semester. The API is deployed by you, right? Oh no, the API is not by me. I'm not the one who deployed the API. Actually, if you Google hard enough, then you can just find. I don't think you need to Google hard enough. I think you can just find COVID-19 result API or something like that. Then this is the one that is free, and also I can use without any payment, so and so. What is the combo stack with Flutter like MERN? I think the combo stack, this is Flutter and Dart, or maybe just Flutter and Dart. Or also in the video, you can use other graphics assets from, maybe you can integrate After Effects and use the graphics from there. So the combo stack in Flutter is just really mainly Flutter and Dart. And also, depends on what application you are building. What is API? API is actually application programming interface. So it's actually most of the time just simply saying it is a way for how the backend connect to the front end. So the backend people create the API for the front end people to use. So in this case, the API provided by this guy who created this app, who created this API. So he provided us with all these raw data. So it's up to us on how we want to integrate and use it, all these things. So Flutter can do backend too. If I remember correctly, I don't think there's any way for Flutter to do backend. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's no way for Flutter to to create a backend on its own. So before we move on to the next, I opened last question Q&A session. So for this application, oh, by the way, the application, I see someone asking me for no one asked for it. Okay, so for those who are really interested with this sample application, can go to this GitHub. I've deployed the application there, so use it, just use it as on whatever you want to use. I really don't mind, since this is just a test project. So can just go ahead and see the code in detail if you want to try it out. I think it's time. Also, there's no question. If there's really no question, then I think we can move on to the intro to Dart session, intro to Dart programming language. So as always, like just now, I will invite Lim Yujie to talk about the first part. The first part will be covering about the data types and the operators and all. And the second part will be given by CK. CK will cover about functions in Dart. And last part, which is the OOP part of it. So the OOP part will be given by me. So we will go through all the basics that we need in Dart programming language. All right, Luigi, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Some basic programming language of Dart. You all can together like hands-on with me. Here is the we are going to using this link as the online compiler to practice with the Dart. Can you guys see the screen? Okay. So you guys goes to this link, the link I posted in the chat box. Okay, so when you open, normally actually it will show, if you open, I assume it will come up with this. Do you guys have this thing when you open on the link? Everyone already open, right? Then if all already open and ready, then I will start with the data type of the Dart, some basic introduction to Dart language. So first of all, when we want to write the codes, we want to run the codes, we must have a main function. And this main function actually is a void lah. It doesn't return any values. If you didn't have this main function, if you type anything, it will going to display like error because it cannot found the main method. It's something like the C++, you will always need to have the main function. So the main function, now I start with the data type of the Dart language. So first of all, actually we have the int data type. So this is how I declare an amount variable which is the int data type. In Dart, right, if you want to display, you just use the print function. So sometimes you run, right, it will take quite a long, not long time but depends. Okay, here it will showing out the value. Okay, another display function is like this. If let's say I would like to show here this ampersand, this dollar sign symbol. It actually, because I need to put dollar sign symbol in this at here is because I include the variable inside the double quote. If you include the variable inside the double quote, then you want to retrieve this value, you will need to have the dollar sign. So when you run, it will take a long time. Yeah, it will show up. So same thing here also. In that, every line you'll need to end with the semicolon, or else it will return error also. Okay, so next we go to the double data type. So in double data type, we also have the double data type in the Dart language. So the same thing, it will also display out. If you want to make it easy, you can just print, and then the bracket inside is you putting the variable name. We have the string. We have the string data type, and for string data type is one thing you need to caution about is that the string data type, the string you always need to be the capital letter. You need to put it as a capital letter, not the small capital letter. So I print name. While it's running, maybe I go to another data type. Since this data type is not much complicated to you. And another data type is Boolean, which in the Dart we declare using the bool data type. Then we also print it. So far, until here, do you guys can follow? I think this is quite simple. Int double string Boolean, these both are the very basic data type that we have like other language also. In Dart, we have one data type called var. This var is actually let you to, it will only decide the data type after you compile and run your program. Let's say here I have this S1, I store a string, a string into this S1 variable. So the variable actually is after it compiles, it will store as the string data type. And in Dart, right, you can actually have the single quote or double quote that actually work as the same thing, like double quote. the data, the value, you can put any value you want. Just here when I see what is the, so here is actually the single quotes and the double quote, they just work as the same thing. When it comes to what is different when you're using the single quote or using a double quote is that when you want in the value, you want to have a special symbol, like maybe S3. I have, and then I have the apostrophe S. So you see right here, the apostrophe S actually in here right is taking as the ending quotes already. So at here we want to treat it as the special symbol. We need to put the backslash. So it will then it will understand that this apostrophe S is that the value that you want to display in the variable. Yeah, here is a dot. Okay. And for the double quotes, if you are using double quotes, right, it doesn't matter. It understands that you actually want to put it as a apostrophe. So maybe this one normally for easy we use the double quote lah. So you might not like getting maybe some certain very stupid error because of this. This var variable. In the string, I want to introduce raw string concept to you also. In this raw string, these are, let's say, these are indicates the value that I'm going to put inside here is a raw string. That means like when you want to break to a new line, we normally use the backslash n, right? So here, and then the dot I want to have go to the next line. Actually, if you are putting this in as a raw string, it will just ignore this thing. It will just display anything that you type exactly in here. It won't go to the next line because I put it as a raw string. So it just ignore it. It will just ignore the backslash treatment. Okay. Another thing is multi-line string. So let's say if I normally when you are writing maybe writing a code, you may involve certain paragraph. Then the paragraph maybe you want to specific until which words you want to go to next line, until which words you want to go to next line. It will be quite frustrated if you keep typing this backslash n. So if you are for easy, you can just type it like this using the triple, then you just enter. Like enter to your preference. Then you close it also with the triple quote. It will display you can create, and then it will go to next line. Multi-line string. So here it will make your more easy. It will just exactly follow like until when you enter, then it will go to next line. You can using the double quote also. The single quote or double quote also can. Until now, is it okay? Next thing, they have another interesting data type in that also. We call dynamic. Actually, the concept is same as the var. Let's say I declare a dynamic variable, and then I declare it as height. So I print it. Okay. I print the data, and then I also want to print the data type of that variable. If you want to know the data type of that variable, you can use this runtime type. It will show after you run, it will show the data type of that variable. It may take some time. It will display the output will be display high and then string. Yeah, high and then string because this one I set the value as the string. So in dynamic, right, you can maybe in your code in the middle you want to change the value for this variable. You can just maybe I want to change to integer data type. So it for dynamic variable, it allows you to do this. It will going to display high string and then 1, 2, 3 and int. Yeah, you can see here. But here is the difference when come to var. For var, like let's say I declare a var variable. I declare hey, and to print b, and I print the data type. So what you expect for the output actually, it should run as the dynamic as this first part. Hey, and string. Okay, let's say I also want to change the value for variable b in the middle of my code, and then I want to print. For bar, it doesn't allow you. You see here, it comes out with an error. You cannot even compile and run it. A value of type int cannot be assigned to a variable of type string. So here is the difference between dynamic and var. Dynamic, it allows you to have high flexibility to modify with your variable data. But for var, once you declare it as maybe as string data type, in the middle of your code, you cannot change the variable to another data type. So from here until here, do you guys get the concept, get the difference between dynamic and the var? Okay, the dynamic is quite useful, yeah, because it really have high flexibility. Sometimes your codes like maybe involving 1,000 lines. I think you all experience this, right? When you do for a project which is really large, then you will have 1,000 lines like that. Then sometimes you cannot really remember like which variable you are using. So maybe for dynamic, if you in the middle of your code you want to change to another data type, so it allows you. So here is some basic data type of Dart. Now I introduce the type conversion. Like first thing, I want to convert the int data type to string. Now I declare a variable string with name this. Okay, so in here this one is actually here I just want to show you how to convert. Actually, if you want to store string, you can just type like this and then it will store as string already. But and from at here, I type 1. This one it will act as the integer types. Then I want to store it as string. I just use this function string 1 as string equal 1 dot to string. This one, it will, after you use this to string function, it will convert this one into string data type. So I print this, and then I want to check whether this data type, this 1 as string variable, the value is it equal to 1 as string. It should actually return true because it's already converted. Yeah, you can see here. Okay, so next is from double to string. Double to string, the same thing. I also sorry, yeah, I know why this keep coming up. String, and also you can just assign any variable. 3.14159 is it? If I'm not mistaken. And then same thing. If you want to change from double to string, you just use the string function, and then you print it. It will return the pi as string actually in the string function. Oh, sorry. I think here I should put it as like this. This one is number in double data type. Okay, and then if let's say I want to change from string to int, I declare a variable. And then if you want to change from string to int, and there is another function, int.pass. This is the function for you to change anything, the string inside this bracket into int. Let's say I had 12. So I want to check whether this one equal to 1. This one is in the integer data type. Okay, so I want to convert this string value into the integer data type. It should return true also. Yeah, you can see here. And from string to double, yeah, I think you can get it already. You just need to change this int. The int you change to double, and also using the pass function. And let's say 999. They cannot have the same variable name. It should return me true also because I already converted. Okay, I think this one also very basic, right? Can get it. Yeah, there's quite a lot of function actually you can for the type of conversion. This is some example that I would like to show you all. So next thing is about constant. I think most of you know about constant lah, if you know about programming. The constant in Dart, we use const, C-O-N-S-T, const as the way to define this variable as a constant variable. Yeah, this is a integer constant. I can have string, boolean also. Let's say I create two. This is a boolean constant, and I print it. I think the very basic concept that you know is that if you declare the variable as constant, then you cannot change or modify the variable anymore in your coding. It's just fixed. If you want to change, it will display error to you. Let's say you want to change that. It will give you error because the constant variable cannot be assigned to a value after you already declare it as constant. Okay, so this is a short about constant. Next, I will go to operator. For operator, I think also the very basic one is something like the plus, the minus, multiply, divide. It's all called as the operator. Yeah, so it will just display, and we have the percentage. The percentage is to find the remainder after it carry out the operation. It will find the remainder. Like 23 divided by 5, it will find the remainder 3. Okay, so this is the normal operator. We have the relational operator. Relational operator is like the operator equal, not equal, less than, or greater than. So let's say here I using a if statement, which actually will cover later by Chungkit. So if number is not equal 0, then I will print not 0. If the number, here I will show for the normal not equal relational operator, because now our num should be 3, so it's not 0, so we'll just print not 0. Since this one is return, this statement return true, so it will go to execute the body. The next type of operator is the logical AND or the OR, the AND and OR logical operator. Here I'm using the if statement also. If num greater equal 200 and num smaller 203, smaller than 203, then I will print. And if num less than 200 or num greater than 202, then it will print. So actually now my num actually storing the 3, so it will display this less than 200 or larger than 202, this one, because my the N and R, I think also the very basic one, you know, want to execute this statement, only these two conditional statement, both of them return true, then only it will go to this, it will only display this. Okay, so another operator is the unary operator. Unary operator, okay, for your information, right, like the plus, minus, multiply, and division, this operator, we call it as a secondary operator, if I'm not mistaken. It's actually interacting with two variables. And then for unary operator, it will only interacting with one variable. Like, I think you're also very familiar with this symbol, plus plus. Num plus plus means increasing, the num value will increasing by 1. Okay, so I print the num. And we have the other unary also, like the minus, num minus minus. And then another one is it will take the value of num and then multiply with 1. It return the same thing because I multiply with 1. And then the very last part is about the ternary operator. It's actually interacting with 3. Can imagine like it interacting with that consists of 3 parts. First, I declare a x variable, and then I declare another result variable. Then here come to it, x percentage 3. Here is I want to find the remainder. I want to check whether this remainder is equal to 0 or not. Then if is equal to 0, then it will return even, or else you need in this ternary operator, actually they have some symbol that you will need to remember, like the question mark and also this this column, this symbol. And then after this is the false statement. Okay, let me finish it. Okay, for this, right, the 100 will divide by 3, and then I will find the remainder. I will check whether this remainder will equal to 0 or not. If it's equal to 0, means it return true. If it return true, it will execute the first part here. Okay, but if the remainder is not equal to 0, it means it return false. If it's false, then it will execute the last part here. 100 divided by 3, and then we will find the remainder. I think it will return odd. Because it's false, it's not equal to 0, then it will return odd. If let's say you change to 2, then it will return even. Okay, so it's basically until here the operator. Is it okay? I think this one is quite a very basic one. I just want to let you all get to know about the basic coding in Dart. So I will pass it to CK. He will continue with the control structure and function.
You guys can see my screen, right? Control structures, we're going to start with the easy ones. If, else if, and else. Let's initialize some variables. Right. So this, I'm pretty sure like most of you have taken like C++ or any other programming language, right? So you guys will know this like if else statements. So this first checks if the variable A is greater than B, and if it is, then it prints A is greater than B. Then else if it checks if the A is equals to B, and if it is, then it prints A is equals to B. As you can see, because both of the variables are 10, so A is equals to B. And else it prints that B is equals to A. So let's see. So we switch this to 5. Yeah, you show B is equals to A because B is 10 and A is 5. And if we put it this way, yeah, A is greater than B. As you can see, 5 is definitely greater than 1. So now we move on to the switch statements, which is also similar with the ones in C++. So yeah, so the switch statements, you pass in the variable which is called number inside it, and then it checks if because we initialize the number variable as 0, so it checks if case 0 it prints even. So because it's 0, so it prints even. So if we switch it to 1, then it will print out odd. So why do we need to put this break statement right here? So it is to break out from this switch statement when you have reached the result. So if like there's case 1, then it prints odd, then it breaks out of it. Breaks out of it already. So if you didn't put the break statement, then it will just continue printing on. And then for the default, which is if the case you specify above is not available, like you only specify case 0, case 1, and then what about 2, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So if the case is not on from the top, then it prints out none. And we'll move on to for loops. It's almost similar with the ones in C++ here. And this for loop initialize the variable I equals to 0, and then the next one is checks if I is less than or equals to 10, and then I++. So it prints. So at first it's 0, right? Because you initialize it to 0, so it prints 0. Then it plus it with 1. Then it prints out 1. It checks first if it's less than equals to 10. Then it is, so it prints out 1. So then it continues on until 10. So 10 is less than equals to 10. So it still prints out 10, but then after that it's 11. So 11 is greater than 10, so it stops the for loop. And then there's like a few types of for loops, right? So now I'm going to show you the second type. So this is a list. Basically what this does is for each of the variables and in the numbers. So there's 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So it will print out n. like this 1, 2, 3. So if like for some reasons you don't like to use like the curly braces, or if your code is really short, like here only just one line, right? You can use the what do you call, the shorthand arrow, right? That's for functions, right? Let's move on to the next for loop. So for this, it takes the numbers variables, then for each of the variables and in the numbers list, you print out n. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Then we'll go for the while loop. So we initialize the variable at num equals to 5, and then it checks while the num is greater than 0, which it is because it's 5 is greater than 0, then it prints out the num 5. Then for this one, it minus the num variable with 1. So 5, 4, 3. It minus it with 1, then because the num is still greater than 0, then it continue looping and printing the num. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then lastly, 0 is not greater than 0, so it stops the loop, and so it only prints 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then there's the other one, which is the do while loop. So what's the difference between while loop and do while loop, right? So the while loop, it checks the conditions first before executing it, and the do while loop executes the do block here at least once before checking the condition, because it's at the bottom, right? And it's also the same output. Then we'll go to the last part of the control structures, which is the break and continue. So this break, for this for loop, right, it also initialize to 1 equals to 0, I equals to 0, then I less than 10, and then I plus plus. Then inside here we add another line, which is if I equals to 5, then it breaks the loop. So you can see here, it only executes from 0 until 4. Then when it's 5, then it breaks the loop. So there's no more continuous. And then there's the continue. For continue, right, this one, it checks if the I divided by the 2 and the remainder is equals to 0. And if it's equals to 0, then it continues on with the next variable. So you can see there for 2, 4, 6, and 8, where we divide by 2, the remainder is equals to 0. It doesn't print out the 2, 4, 6, 8 because it continues on with the next variable. So it becomes 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 only. So before we continue to the function part, are you guys okay? So function. So we create a function. Well, this is a function in Dart, and then we specify the return type of the function first before the name. This is the name, and this is the return type. So previously, as you just said, for the dynamic return type, you can return any type, any data type, without you specifying it. So, like for this example, we can use this. Call this function square 2 and 2.5, and it returns 4 and 6.25. And for the 4, it's integer, and 6.25, it's a double. So if you use dynamic, then you can call the function for every data type. And then this function, it returns the num times nums. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 2.5 times 2.5 is 6.25. Yeah, so this is the shorthand arrow that I said previously. And yeah, you can, if you have like only one line of like code, then you can just return it like this. So it also returns the same result. For the for loop, right, you can also use the for loop to call out functions like this, like list for each variables in the list apple, banana, orange. You can call this function and return the variable into this function, and you print out the items. As you can see, it prints out apple, banana, and orange. So for this function, which is it's a simple function, which is it takes two parameters, the num1 and num2, and then we put in two parameters here, 1 and 2, and then it returns 1 plus 2 equals to 3. So that using the Dart language, there's also this feature where you can use the optional. It's also available in our language as well. So you put this square bracket, then it's this variable is optional. You want to return it or not, also can. I'll put this. So as you can see, we just put in one parameter, which is 1 only, and the second one is optional parameter, and then this just checks if the variable is null. If it is, then it returns 0. So we just return 1, and 1 plus 0 equals to 1. So yeah, that's all for my part. Now I'm going to pass on to Daniel to talk about the last part, which is the class.
Yeah,
so
hello.
Is used, can the same function return?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If dynamic is used, then the same function can return data type as shown previously for the square 2 and square 2.5. Yeah, so Daniel?
Yeah, all right. So for the last part, yeah, are you guys still with us? So if you guys, for those who are still listening, can type yeah in the chat. Right. So for the final part, I'll just speak through it. I'm going to explain about wait for that. Let me just share a window first. Yeah, you guys should see a Dart pad. Okay. Can you guys see the screen? Is the screen okay? All right, yeah, I can see. So unfortunately, I have to speed up this part for a bit, because since we'll be watching a video about regarding Flutter installation after this part. So for those who are really interested for more explanation, can stay back after this event, and can stay back after we finally finish our event. Okay, right. So is it okay? So as we all know, so Dart is an object-oriented language. So in every object-oriented language, there's this idea of using objects. Okay, so where does an object come from? It came from a class. Okay, so what is class, you might ask, for those who haven't taken OOP or never heard of OOP before. So OOP is an object-oriented programming. So it's object-oriented. Okay, it's called that for a reason. Okay, so the object came from the class. Class is some kind of like a template for an object. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. So it's not, for those who are using C++, they might take the word template for a different context, since we have templates in C++ also. Okay, just imagine that an object is created based on the class. Okay, so the identity of an object contained in the class. Okay, is that clear? So Dart, where we see how do we actually create a class in Dart. So for the sake of time, I have pre-written this class. This is a simple class. It's a class of person, and inside it we have a member variable, which is name and age. The name is obviously a string, and the age is obviously also an integer. We don't have a double age or something, and also we don't have an integer name for something, unless you're some robots or something else. All right. Okay. So these are the member variables for that certain class. Okay. Down here you can see this is some kind of a function, but then if you want to say that this is a function, it's not a function since it doesn't have a return type. But then for those of you who have taken OOP, you should know that this is a constructor. Okay, a function with the same name with the class name is called a constructor. A constructor is a method where you can initialize your member variables with the parameter given. It is also the function or method that is called during the instantiation of the object. All right. So in this case, we can see the person constructor. Inside there, we pass two variables, which is string name and integer age. Okay. Let's just ignore the documentation for now. We can just focus on the code and can read the documentation later. All right. Okay. So string name and integer age. Okay. So as you can see here, I put the same thing over here, but then it doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing. I can just put string n and integer a. Okay. Down here, the way we initialize this thing to the member variable is by using the keyword this. Okay, this.name is referring to the variable over here, and this.age, the same thing, is referring to the variable over here, integer age. Okay, and what we do here is actually just passing the parameter that is given to the constructor to our internal member variable. Okay, this is a way that you can visualize it. All right, and then the next thing is we can see that I have commented a line here. So instead of writing this, okay, for example, let's say we just need to assign these two variable from you need to assign these two variable to your member variables and name and age. Okay, so I don't think like if it really bother you to spend like how many lines is this, 5 lines to write a constructor, then for those kind of people you can use this line. It's just a single shortcut constructor which assign this.name and whatever in this place to this.name and whatever in this location to this.age. All right, so until this point, everyone clear? Now let's move on. Okay, we already talked about variables, we already talked about constructor. Now if you move on to down here, it's actually a function that have a return type of void. Okay, so this clearly is a function, but then it's inside the class. So what is this actually? This is a function that can be used by the object from this class person. Okay, so this function, in this case, I have defined it to just simply say print name and print age, right? Or maybe to make it more user interactive, I can just say name, and then I can put a $sign over here. Where's my $sign? Okay, $sign, and then I can write age equals to, and then $sign age. All right. So what this function will do is it will print the variable from here. It will print the variable in that class instance. In that object instance. Okay. For example, let's see down here. Okay, wait, let me just enter to make it some space. All right. So as you guys can see, here's the main function. Okay. I've created an object of type person that is called P. All right. And then I call the constructor person and I pass in my name and my age. Yeah, by the way, my name is spelled like this, and this is my age actually. Yeah, I just turned to 31 like a few months ago. Okay. Yeah, my birthday is on the 18th of October. For those of you guys who like want to give me like free gift or something. Okay. Yeah, that's not important. Yeah, let's move on. We have another 3 more minutes. Okay. I promise you. thanks. I promise you that I will settle this thing as fast as possible. Okay. Then what I will do with this is I will call p.showData. Alright, okay. For this, I already run it, but then this is before I change the name and age. Okay, let's just run it one more time. Okay, now you can see is name, Daniel, and age 31. Okay, for the demonstration purpose, let's just create a var, another object with another object of instance person called p1. And then you can just go for person. And then let's just say British. Okay, with the age of, okay, let's say I don't want to put any age. Okay, but then when we show data, okay, actually I can't type. Okay, if I show data, it will give me an error because I don't provide them with age. But then my constructor said I already have age. Alright, so how do we settle this? So we can just put this in a square bracket. For example, let's just say 18, right? So what this means is the default value, if any value, if there's no value given by this constructor, so it would just default to this value. Okay, so let's just run it one more time. Okay, wait, I typed it wrongly. It's not p.showData. Yeah, let's just run it one more time. It's actually p1.showData. Right, so as you can see now, I didn't specify any age here, but then since the I already specified the what do we call this, optional value for the age, so it would take on that value and assign it to this object instance. All right, Okay, so as for now, I have to stop here as we need to give some time to play for the Flutter installation video, and after that, the event has ended. All right. For those who are really interested in learning more about OOP, can stay for a while. I have a few more stuff to talk about. Yeah. So now, CK, can you play the Flutter video?
So to create these Flutter apps, I'm going to be using Android Studio. And the reason I'm doing this is because we can install a couple of nice packages which are really going to help us when we're creating apps with Flutter. Now, you don't have to use Android Studio. You can use your own preferred text editor like VS Code or something else. The choice is entirely yours, but if you want to follow along exactly as I'm doing, I would advise you strongly to download Android Studio right here. You can get it from this address, developer.android.com/studio. And I will leave all of these links down below, by the way. Okay then, so next we need to install Git. Now, Git is a version control system, and we use it for tracking changes to our code. You do not necessarily need to know how to use Git for this course. It's always good to know, but it's not essential for this course. We just need it on our computer because Flutter depends on it, and we'll use it to install Flutter. So make sure you go to this address, git-scm.com/downloads, and download it for your operating system. Make sure you download this and install it before you go to the next step, which is to install Flutter. So if you go to flutter.dev/docs/get-started/install, again, all these links down below, you can choose your operating system. I'm on Windows, and then it's going to give me a guide on how to install this. So first of all, the system requirements, and you can see down here, Git for Windows is a requirement, which is why we just installed it. And if we scroll down a bit, we can see down here, get the Flutter SDK. This is how we install Flutter onto the computer. So what we're going to be doing is using Git to clone a repository onto our computer. What that means is basically getting a load of code from the Flutter GitHub and then putting it on our computer. That's essentially installing Flutter to our computer. What it does say is that we don't want to clone this into any kind of directory that requires elevated privileges like program files. Instead, just do it directly into the C drive in some kind of folder like source. Now, I've already gone into my C drive right here and created this folder. That is where I am going to clone the GitHub repo to. So all we need to do is copy this dude, and then we're going to use CMD or command prompt to install this. So the first thing we need to do is navigate into this source folder right here, because this is where we're going to install Flutter. So I need to get to my C drive, then inside the source folder. Currently, I'm in C users Sean, so I need to CD up a couple of levels. So CD ... that means change directory, then change directory space, and then go into the source folder. So this is where we want to install Flutter. Now I'm just going to paste in that line we copied from this website over here and press enter. That is going to clone that GitHub repository from Flutter to our computer. Okay, so once that's installed, we can open up this Flutter folder inside the source folder. And now if we go down to the Flutter console, if we run this, we're going to get this Flutter console right here. So what we can essentially do now is run Flutter commands inside this console. And what I'm going to do is say Flutter doctor. And this basically runs a little diagnostic for us on Flutter and make sure it's installed correctly, I suppose. Now, when you first run this, it's going to take a couple of minutes, and that's because it's checking the Dart SDK version, or rather downloading Dart SDK, and it's just going to take a couple of minutes before it gives you some feedback. Alright then, so once that's all complete, hopefully at the top you're going to get a green tick to say Flutter is installed, and we have a version number right there, and also Android Studio if you've installed that as well. So hopefully those are green ticks. It doesn't matter so much if these are not green ticks at the bottom. We know now we have Flutter installed on our computer. Now, at the minute, Flutter can be run inside this Flutter console, but it might be that if you try to run Flutter elsewhere on your computer, it doesn't work. For example, if we open up another command prompt and press enter, if you try to write Flutter right here and then say, for example, the version, so / and then version, this might work for you, it might not work. If it does work, then you don't need to do anything else. If it doesn't work, then you're going to need to edit the path variable on your environment variables so that you can use Flutter elsewhere on your computer. you can see right here, this worked because it told me what version of Flutter I have installed. But if it doesn't, then just go down here, type in env, and then click Edit the System Environment Variables, and then go to Environment Variables right here, and you want to double click this path one. So inside here, you can see I've got this one, which is C, source, Flutter, and bin. So that needs to be there in order for us to use Flutter elsewhere on the computer. And that's why it's worked for me over here in the command prompt. If it didn't work for you, then just click on New right here. And then inside this space, just type in C, then the colon, and then the backslash source, backslash Flutter, backslash bin, or whatever directory you installed it to. Okay, so once you've done that, click OK to add that, and then we're going to cross all this off. I want you to close your command prompt and then try this again, Flutter space -- version. Then it should work. So now we have Flutter installed on our computer. The final thing I want to show you in this video is how to get all of the course files for this course, because I've done course files for every single lesson. So they're all on GitHub, and you want to go to this address right here. This link is going to be down below, and the repo is called Flutter Beginners Tutorial. So the way I've done this is that every lesson that requires code in this course has its own branch on this repo. So you might get here and look at this and say, well, there's no code in this repo. But if you click on this branch, then you're going to see all of these different lessons right here. So if you wanted to see the code for lesson 20, then you click on the lesson 20 branch and you can go into the folder to see the code for this lesson. Now, if you prefer, you can just browse it this way, or because we now have Git installed, we can use Git to clone this repo onto our computer. And we can do that by going to clone or download and clicking this button right here to copy the address of this repo. Then you just do Git clone and then this repo in whatever directory you want. If you prefer just to download a zip folder of each different branch, you can do. Just click on.
Alright, so yeah, that's all. That's the video that we showed just now. Is the only necessary part you need for the Flutter installation part. Okay, so thank you all for attending. I really appreciate you guys. This number is huge for us actually for the event. Okay, so I really appreciate you guys attending this event. Yeah, so be sure to go ahead and click on the event feedback. Okay, and be sure to leave some nice feedback or bad feedback or whatever you want. Yeah, I don't really mind. Just really we will make sure that the next event we will make use of your feedbacks. Right. So for those who really interested in the object-oriented part of the Dart, so can stay for a while.
Yeah, really thanks a lot for those who come.
Yeah. Sorry for the stop for a while. Yeah, just something happened. Yeah. So and again, thanks to you guys for coming. And yeah, I really hope you guys have a nice day ahead. Yeah, sorry for taking a bit of your time. All right. Yeah, thank you guys. Bye bye. Have a good night.
Yeah,
and for those who have any further question for like other than just the .oop, you can just go onto our website, which is provided by CDAS, gdscmmu.github.io. So from there you can join our Discord server. So if anything, can just ask us. You can reach us from there. You can also ask us other questions, not just regarding to Flutter. You can ask us how to join a member or something for future events or just anything. Ask us anything. Yeah, the Discord link is, you can get the Discord link from our website, which is provided by CDAS. Okay, so since no one leaving already, since no one else leaving, so I assume all of you guys still staying for the OOP part of that. Okay. Is that it, or you guys just wanna stay and chill? Also can. I don't mind. All right. Okay, so let's go OOP. All right, nice. Okay, so for the OOP part, okay, let me just share my screen for Dartpad again. All right. So yeah, where did we left off just now? Is from the p1.show data. Yes, the optional value for the variable passed to constructor if we didn't specify in the first place. Okay, so let's just see. Other than this is okay. Let's move on to the next part, which I think I'm going to touch a bit about inheritance. So let's create a new class called vehicle. So before I start inheritance, so any of you guys know about ever heard about inheritance in OOP? Final versus constant. Yeah, can sure. I think if you guys learn about OOP, then you guys should heard about the inheritance. Yeah, of course. Since what's OOP without inheritance, right? We're not just playing with single class. Yeah, it's no fun. Right. So let's just write a class called class vehicle. Right. So what we store inside here is a string model and integer year for the car model, and we share that the car came out. Okay, let's go ahead and construct our constructor. So in this case, I'll just change it a little bit. Instead of putting the instead of writing string models, string m and int y, let's just assign it to this dot model and this dot year. All right, and the constructor body, what we put inside the constructor body is actually, let's say whenever I call the constructor, I want to print the model, and also I want to print the year of the car. All right. Okay, so yeah, this is the constructor that I wish to do. And then let's just create another function. Let's simply just create another function called show. Okay, show data, or show data. It doesn't mind, whatever. Show data. All right. So what will this show data do is it will just print just the same thing, print the model and print the year. Right. Okay, so now let's go to the inheritance part of this. Let's say we want to create another class that inherit the properties of this class. Okay, so let's say vehicle is just a big group to classify something. Okay, what can be classified as a vehicle? Let's say if I say motorcycle, it's also a vehicle. Car, also a vehicle. Van, also a vehicle. A bus, also a vehicle. Even okay, maybe for some people, the tractor also can be a vehicle, right? For some people, okay, or maybe some truck, right? Okay, so let's just say I want to create another subclass from vehicle. So let's just say I want to create a class car, okay, that extends from the main class, or the super class, which is vehicle. Okay, so this keyword extends over here, basically just saying that the car is one of the subclass of vehicle. Okay, so let's just define another variable here. Let's say we want to define the price. Okay, what error is it? The superclass vehicle doesn't have 0. Okay, let's just ignore that for now. Okay, and then let's say the constructor for the car. Okay, let's just write a CQOR. Okay, car, and then let's just pass in the string of model, and then the integer of the year, and then this dot price, right? And then bear in mind that since we are extending from the superclass, okay, we also need to instantiate the superclass conductor. Okay, how do we do that? Is we use the keyword super and then pass in the stuff that we need to pass to the we need to put in the parameter that we need to pass for it to instantiate the superclass. Okay, and then let's say we want to also create another class called void show data. Okay, but then instead of doing this one more time, okay, let's just print out, because since I also want to print out the model and year, but then that doesn't necessarily mean I have to write the same thing twice, right? I can just write super dot show data. Oops, super dot show data. Right. Okay, so what this will do is you will go to the super class, in this case, which is the vehicle. We go to that class and go ahead and find for this function, for the show data function, and call it with this pass variable initially when we call to create the constructor. Okay. And then lastly, other than that, since we added the price, right, so might as well just print the price. Oops. print this dot price. All right. Okay, so now is the time for us to test it out. Oops. Okay, so let's just use space and then main function. Right, void main. All right. So let's just create an instance of car. Okay, let's say var c. Okay, because I'm lazy to name the variable. Okay, var c equals to car. Okay, let's say give me some brand of car. Any brand of car. Tesla. Okay, nice. Tesla, and then the year for it. Okay, what year? Okay, let's say just 2019, and then the price for it. The price for it should be around like 100K, right? Or should be more expensive or more cheaper. I don't really know because I don't look up the price for Tesla car. Okay, it's okay. Then car dot show c dot show data. Okay, let's see what happened when we call this function. Is this giving me this type of error? Oh, I see, because there's another main down here. Okay, no wonder. Right. Oh. Oh no. Just open a new tab and see whether it fixes the problem or not. Oops. I think it's still there. Right. Yeah. Oh no. Oops. Okay, why is there duplicates? Class car, vehicle, okay, yeah. Yeah, alright, nice lah. Okay, so yeah, the problem is it somehow being fixed after copying and pasting the same thing twice and deleting and clearing the page for like how many times? Alright. So now as we can see, why is there a Tesla 2019 and then another Tesla 2019 with 100,000? Okay. As we can see just now, let's just go in our car constructor. Okay, what happened in this constructor? When we call this constructor, after passing the model, the year, and the price, it will also instantiate the superclass with the value of model and year. Alright? Okay. Where does this constructor came from? It came from this vehicle this.model this.year, and in the same time it will print this.model and print this.year. That's why we have multiple copies of model and year. Okay, let's just see if I delete this part. Okay, since this is already enough. So vehicle this.model this.year. Right. If I just run this thing, so our expected output will be just Tesla 2019 and just 100K, 100,000. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so that's inheritance for you. Okay, now talking about, are you guys familiar with setters and getters? Like a function to get value, a function to set value. Yeah, right, nice. Okay. What else? Okay, if we really want to go to setters and getters, yeah, I can just copy paste the pre-written code. Okay, so basically the pre-written code is a mess, right? It's okay. You can just clean it up. All right. Okay, so as we can see here, so first we have a class of, okay, so let me just try and run this, see whether there's anything error. All right, okay, now it shouldn't give any error. All right, okay, so before that, let me just explain. So as you can see here, the class rectangle, here we see some new alien data type, which is num. So actually num is can be used for a type of integer and double, right? So we define the left side, the top, the width, and the height of the rectangle, right? And then we initialize it by using the constructor this.left, this.top, this.width, and this.height. Okay, and then and then here, as we can see, this is actually get, right? So this is referring to our setter function, a getter function. Okay, so get right is actually getting. This is actually the arrow notation that CK explained just now. So get the right by returning the value of left plus width. Okay. So for example here, left value is 3 and the width value is 20, right? So the value that it will return to during we call the right value, during the right function is 20 plus 3 is 23, right? So if we print now the other getter function here is, okay, let me just cut and paste it on top, right? So it's get right and get bottom. So it's the same thing, it's just returning top plus height, right? And then the other tool here is called setter, right? So in C++, I just assume that a lot of you guys have basic in C++, right? So in C++, the thing with setter and getter is usually getter will have some return type and setter will usually be void. I don't know, maybe in our university level assignment, then that should be it. It's either going to be void or any data type that you want. For example, if you want to say like void get name, so this is just a cin part of maybe cin name, yeah, like this. So and then when you actually oh no, this should be void set name. Okay, and then when you call string, the string get name, what you do here is just return name or return this dot name. Yeah, so basically we can use this idea. Basically it's the same idea, but then just a different keyword for it. In that, we explicitly declare that which function is setter and which one is getter. Yeah, so is that clear? Okay, so just now I had a question from who is it? Just now who asking to talk about Boon Hui. Can you explain final versus constant? All right. So let's say a final. Yeah, let's just use this example. So for example, we need class. Okay, class Daniel for example. Okay, no, let's just say class D. Okay, because my name is Daniel. Okay, so let's just say we declare a variable by the type of final. Okay. And then we declared another variable for, let's say, or perhaps maybe don't use D, you can just use our previous class just now, class person, okay? And then we declare another variable with the type of constant integer, but then it is static, okay? Okay, let's just, no, 10, okay, let's just say put it 21, okay? So the constructor can just say is initialize the constructor with this dot name. All right. So in the main function, okay. So let's create an instance of object called person. Okay. Let's just use p1 for naming convention. All right. Person. The name is just put my name again. Oh no, let's just use another people name. Okay, let's say Nadia. Alright. This is Nadia. Okay. So we already know that we can print let's see what happens if we print p1.name. Alright. Let's just give some time for the duckpad to load. I don't know what's wrong with it. Okay, never mind. So let's just proceed while the thing is being run for a while. Okay, perhaps let me just refresh the page. Yeah, let's run it one more time. Yeah, still nothing. Okay, it's okay. Let's go on and create another variable. Okay. How do I demo this? Okay, so for example, okay, yeah, there you go. Over some time, right? Yeah, so duckpad, right? Okay, so yeah, now let's say if you want to change the name, okay, change the name. So p1.name. Let's say I don't want to put Nadia in the name. I just want to put Pritesh in the name. All right, and then let's print out p1.name again. Okay, as you can see, before I already run the duckpad already give me an error. Name can't be used as a setter because it's final. Okay, that's the use of final. Final data type. Okay, not data type, the final keyword. Okay, so final keyword actually acting as a runtime constant. Okay, so it is constant when you run it. So by the time when you first instantiate an object with the name of Nadia, there's no way for it to be changed to other values. Okay, for example, if you can clearly see it here, p1.name equals to Pritesh. I want to change from Nadia to Pritesh, but then you give me an error because the name is final in the class person. Okay. Okay, now let's print x.h. All right. Okay, so let me just comment out this line. Oh, okay, so the hotkey is working here. All right, so let's print p1.h. Okay, as you can see here, static constant integer h, static field h can't be accessed through an instance. Okay, so why is this? Because static constant integer in classes act as a compile time constant. Okay, it's a property for the class itself. Okay, compared to the final, which is a runtime constant, the property belongs to the object. Okay, so in this case, the age doesn't really belong to P1, although it's declared in the class. It should be a member for the person by right, but then when we put static constant, it doesn't belong to the object P1. Okay, so for us to there's no way for us to access any static constant variable in classes. It's not something like final. Final we can access, but we cannot change. But then for static constant, we cannot access at all. Okay, Bunhui, is it clear for you? Your name is Bunhui, right? Yeah, Bunhui. Is it clear? The difference between final and static const. Okay, so other than we cover inheritance, we cover the final and static. So are you guys still okay if you guys still want to go on? Or if you state call person.h? Okay, nice question. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if we call person.h. Or maybe just print it. Person.h. You can call person.h since as I mentioned before, static constant integer belongs to the class. So when every time we want to call it, so we need to call with the class name .h. Is there anything like private or public in that? Yeah, as Bunhui mentioned just now, say in the chat, on the top chat, maybe it got drowned by a lot of other chat. So the private variable is declared with an underscore in front of it. Yeah. For example, let's say address. Yeah, this is how you. Okay, shouldn't be var. Should be just string maybe. Yeah, this is how you declare a private variable. I think that's all for the OOP part. Okay. Do you guys have any other question? Or if you guys want to ask, as I said just now, as I mentioned just now, any question if you want to ask, feel free to hop on our Discord. The link you will get from the footer of our website, which is GDSC MMU.github.io. Yeah. So yeah, that got protected. Yeah, I don't think there is a protected variable for that. I only know for private and public. Yeah. So yeah, any question for tonight's session? Or if you guys just don't want to ask here, you can just, as I said just now, go on our website and go to the footer part. You can see a Discord. There's a Discord widget there. You can just click and feel free to join on our Discord and ask away anything. Not just about Flutter. And if you have any trouble regarding setting up the Flutter SDK, Android SDK, Dart, or Android Studio, VS Code, anything, on whichever platform, we can help for Windows, Mac, and also Linux platform. Yeah, we will try to help as much as we can.